All right, let's talk some Eagles here on this Friday. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles now. My name is Chase Sr., and as always, no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. Hope your new year is off to a fantastic start here in 2026, and I hope you're all getting ready to have a fantastic weekend. Coming up here on the show, Philadelphia may have gotten a big break before playing the Commanders on Sunday at Lincoln Financial Field in the regular season finale for Week 18. The Eagles are going to rest their starters this week. Will the Bears? If the Bears lose and the Eagles win, Philadelphia gets that number 2 seed in back-to-back years. Why the Eagles can still win this game against Washington despite playing their backups, and we have some Eagles injury news to get to as well. Before we dive into another loaded show here on the program, as we're bringing you elite Eagles coverage every single day year-round, don't forget to hit that follow button and subscribe to the channel. You can also follow me on social media, X, Instagram, TikTok, at Chase_Senior, and my Facebook has been popping. You can find me there if that is your platform that you like to use, Chase Senior Chat Sports. So Marcus Mariota out on Sunday for Washington at the quarterback spot. That means that Josh Johnson will start again in the regular season finale for Washington. That news official here today as the Commanders have ruled Mariota out, and Josh Johnson is going to start his second consecutive game. And he came in for the Commanders a couple of weeks ago against the Eagles, and then he started in that Christmas Day loss against Dallas. And Eagles fans are familiar with him because he actually came in relief of Brock Purdy all the way back in the 2022 NFC Championship game after Hassan Reddick put that hit on Purdy, injured his elbow. Purdy couldn't throw the football any longer, and so Johnson came in as the backup. Then he got hurt early in the second half, and for most of the second half after recess in an NFC Championship game for the right to play in Super Bowl 57, the 49ers didn't have a quarterback. They had to play Christian McCaffrey at the quarterback spot, and that's why now there is that emergency third quarterback rule where if Jalen Hurts and Tanner McKee were to get hurt, for instance, Sam Howell wouldn't count toward the Eagles' active game day roster, but he could come in as that emergency quarterback. And the career of Josh Johnson has been pretty impressive. Like, it's something that you would see in a movie plot. He was a fifth-round pick in 2008. He is 39 years old. He's a very well-traveled veteran, a very well-respected player, and that's why he's been picked up by a lot of offensive minds who have played a big role throughout NFL history. But there's also a reason why he has played for an NFL record 14 different teams in his NFL career, the most in league history. He's just not that good of a player. A little bit small, doesn't have a strong arm. Now, he will help as a backup get you prepared for a game. He will lend really good advice to some of your starting quarterbacks, but when he is thrust into action, Josh Johnson is a very average player. And speaking of how well-traveled he is, I'm just going to read out all of his stops throughout his NFL career. Buccaneers from 08 to 2011, and this obviously is active roster and practice squad. From there, with the Niners, Sacramento Mountain Lions, Cleveland Browns, Cincinnati Bengals, 49ers again, Bengals, Jets, Colts, Bills, Ravens, Giants, Texans, Raiders, San Diego Fleet in 2018. Didn't even know that was a football team. Redskins in 2018. Lions in 2019. Los Angeles Wildcats in 2020. Niners again in 2020. Jets, Ravens, Broncos, Niners in that aforementioned 2022 season. Ravens for the last 2 years in 2023 and 2024, and with the Commanders this year. That is a crazy NFL career, and good for Johnson. Clearly, he's been doing so many things right and is a very respected veteran player to be able to keep getting jobs around the NFL. But again, there's a reason why he's been on so many teams, because he's been an expendable player. And even with the Eagles backups on defense playing in this game, they can have success against Josh Johnson and this Commanders offense. And I didn't do a preview for this Eagles Commanders Week 18 game because honestly, there's not a ton of interest and it doesn't mean a lot for Philadelphia, and they're resting their starters and the Commanders are already out of it. But a big key in this game for the Birds, stop the run. Commanders are going to run it a ton with a couple of their backs, right? And they're going to try to devise and call very easy, simple reads and throws for Josh Johnson. For instance, a lot of bubble screens and wide receiver screens to players like Deebo Samuel. Get some blockers out in front. Watch Deebo pick up some yards after the catch. It is going to be an extremely simplistic offensive game plan for Washington. And yes, the Eagles' backup defensive players are playing, but you still have Vic Fangio calling the defense. He's still preparing this team as if this game matters because that's how Vic Fangio operates. And even these Eagles backups are going to be motivated to put good stuff on tape. Plus, this is the beauty of a deep football team that Howie Roseman has put together. This Eagles practice squad, one of the best practice squads that any of these Eagles players on their roster have gone up against. Zach Berman did a terrific article on this on The Athletic. And even the Eagles backups could be starters somewhere else because Howie's been in his bag in putting together and compiling a very deep roster. So I'm kind of excited to watch the Eagles backups play in this game. You're hoping that the Eagles can win, Bears lose, and you get that 2 seed plus Philadelphia rest. They pretty much get a playoff bye week in week 18. That would be the best case scenario. But I'm looking forward to seeing Vic Fangio and his coaching staff, and then Nick Sirianni, Kevin Patullo, and his coaching staff elevate players on both sides of the ball. The effort is going to be there, and they're going to try to pull off a little bit of an upset, even though the Eagles are favored, because their backups are going to be playing against some of the Commanders' starters here. And that brings me to this. The Philadelphia Eagles can still win this game in week 18 because they have Tanner McKee. It is a great luxury to have one of the best backup quarterbacks in the NFL, who I think if he were to go to another team, he would have the opportunity, if he goes to a good coaching staff, a good organization, to be a high-end starter in this league. Tanner McKee has shown time and time again that he has a really unique skill set at the quarterback spot. He throws with great timing, touch, anticipation, and accuracy. He processes very well. He can layer balls over the middle of the field, and he can really read the defense. And at 6'6", he's not mobile, but he's a good pocket quarterback with a good pocket feel, and he can really read the field at a very high level. And Nick Sirianni, of course, talked a lot this week about Tanner McKee making his second start in his NFL career, and he said that one of Tanner's biggest strengths is that he has such a great ability to read the defense. Jalen Hurts has spoken glowingly of him. And one thing is for sure, McKee's going to come in and he's going to look really, really prepared. And last year, he was in a similar situation in week 18. Eagles rested their starters. Tanner McKee gets the start after he came in relief the prior week against the Cowboys. And with the Eagles backups, Tanner McKee led the Birds to a victory over the Giants starters. I don't think a lot of people realize how good of a player Tanner McKee is. And I think that we're going to see that on Sunday against Washington. He'll be throwing to the likes of Jahan Dotson as his wide receiver 1. Darius Cooper will be his wide receiver 2, but he'll have some pretty good backs to hand the rock to. Tank Bigsby, Will Shipley, maybe A.J. Dillon will be activated. Hopefully we'll get a good look at Drew Kendall at center, Cameron Williams at offensive tackle. You'll see Cam Latu, Kylan Granson, Grant Calcaterra get some reps at the tight end position. And some of these Eagles backup defensive players could be starters on other teams. I think the Eagles are very well equipped to win this football game here. Now, the Eagles are resting their starters. What are the Bears going to do? Coming off a loss against the Niners, they're kind of banged up. They had a little bit of an illness going through that locker room. Looks like the Bears are going to play their starters in week 18. Chicago, they have 11 wins on the year, hosting Detroit. So that game is at Soldier Field in the regular season finale, 11-5 on the season. And if they win, they get the number 2 seed in the playoffs. They're guaranteed a divisional round game at home. Of course, we're hoping that the Bears lose, Eagles win, then Philadelphia would get that 2 seed, and they would be guaranteed a home game in the divisional round at Lincoln Financial Field, where the Eagles have not lost in the playoffs since 2019. And head coach Ben Johnson pretty much explicitly stating this week that the team has no plans to rest starters. He has a desire to win. They want to build momentum going into the playoffs and improve going into the postseason. So that is the thought process for Ben Johnson. Nick Sirianni's is a little bit different. And I think that the Eagles on short weeks this year haven't looked all that great. And so they've looked at times worn down, sluggish, and a little bit tired, both mentally and physically this year. So I think Sirianni has sensed that. He's seen it in operating this organization as the head coach. He wants to give this team much needed and deserved rest going into the postseason. The Bears, this is their best season since 2018. So it's a little bit different for them. Plus, they didn't play into February last year. They didn't play an extra amount of games in the playoffs. It's not like the Eagles got a bye week last year either. They played in the wild card round, in the divisional round, in the NFC Championship game, and in the Super Bowl. They had a shorter offseason. It was a very taxing year last year. They played a very physical brand of football, and their bye week came back in, what was that, week 9. So this is another bye week for the Eagles coming off a Super Bowl winning season in a year where the Eagles have suffered from some injuries. They've looked a little bit battle tested and a little bit banged up. I think Philadelphia needs the rest more than a team like Chicago. And I know that I've said here on the show, I'd love to see this Eagles offense get more quality reps in, get more quality drives under their belt to do what the Bears are doing, which Ben Johnson has alluded to, build momentum and confidence going into the postseason. But when you've watched this offensive line this year, they've looked beaten up. They've looked battered. They've looked worn down. They haven't been the same unit. And especially with the big boys up front, I think they need that a little bit. Now, I am interested to see what Sirianni does with a player like Devontae Smith. For instance, he's 44 yards away from getting over 1,000 this year. Do you put him out there with Tanner McKee? Because he might have some incentives in his contract where he can get some more money if he gets over 1,000. And if he wants to play, do you let him play? Maybe we see something like that. As far as the Eagles injury report, these players out, 6 defensive starters not playing in this game. Defensive tackle Jalen Carter appearing on the injury report on Thursday with a hip issue. Linebacker Nakobe Dean hamstring. Marcus Epps concussion. And then Dallas Goedert knee. Lane Johnson foot. Jalen Phillips ankle. All those players going to be out, although Philadelphia already resting their starters. The good news is that Lane Johnson appeared at practice yesterday, so that's a positive sign as hopefully he can come back in the wild card round. We all know this Eagles offensive line really needs him back. Lastly, will Nick Sirianni's scoreboard watch during that Bears-Lions game on Sunday, could it affect some of his game management decisions? Like if the Bears are down in the second half and the Eagles are in a close game, will Sirianni put out his starters or some starters to try to get that win, knowing that if the Eagles win and the Bears lose, they get that 2 spot? Sirianni said, I'm sure we will. We are still discussing through some of that. I mean, they put it out on the scoreboard, and I'm looking at the scoreboard quite a bit just to rewatch plays and stuff like that. So you see it. So we'll see how that goes as the game goes on. Going to be a fun one on Sunday. We'll be doing a watch party here on Philadelphia Eagles now, so I hope to see all of you there. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I'll be back in the Chat Sports studios tomorrow. Been an awesome week in Westchester, Lancaster, and Downingtown. If you've seen me out, some people have emailed me. Don't be afraid, regardless of where I am, what I'm doing, or what I'm up to. Just be sure to say what's up. Never shy away from that because I love chopping it up with all of you. All right, dipping on out of here. Going to hang out with some friends here to round out my stay. And again, back in the Chat Sports studios tomorrow. Peace.